Last week, a government employee reached out to me with a question that I hear all the time. Should I settle my bond before I retire or resign? Now, it's surprisingly common, and I get it. Conventional wisdom says you should leave a bit open of your bond for emergencies. But here's where it gets interesting. I've also had a number of members telling me that they're holding onto their credit cards, loans, overdrafts, and other debts because they plan to settle them when they receive their lump sum payout. So the real question is, should you settle all your debts before you retire or resign? Now, in this video, I'm going to do a deep dive into this topic, and I'm going to answer the question plus a nice surprise towards the end. I'm going to share what to watch out for when you're settling out your debts, the unexpected risks of keeping debt after you leave, and what to do if you've already settled your debts but feel unsure about the next steps. Now, I'm Devanaika, the go-to guy for South African civil servants seeking clarity on whether to retire or resign. If you are serious about protecting your financial future, click subscribe now so you never have to miss out on a video that's packed with insights like these. And let's get started with today's one. Now, I want to talk to you about the interest on the debt versus the interest from the savings. And pay careful attention, especially if you have access or if you're having some debt, right? Or if you have investment. So here's how I would analyze it. When you have some type of debt, and this could be from your bond, it could be from a credit card. I'll put credit C, right? You'll know it's credit card. It could be from a loan account, or it could be from an overdraft. I'm using OD for short. I want you to pay attention to the interest that is being charged, right? So what's the percentage interest that's there? Now, usually it's on a sliding scale. So a bond, the interest is usually much lower because the term of the bond is longer, right? It's over a longer period. But some of the other accounts, the interest rates might be quite high. For example, a revolving loan or a personal loan, interest rates might be significantly high. A credit card, the interest rates might be quite high. Same on your overdraft, depending again on your credit score and all the factors that the bank have a look at. So you want to pay attention to what the percentages is. Now let's use for fun, just use some percentages in there so you can understand my train of thought, right? Say your bond is at a low rate, 9%. Let's say the loan is at 20%. We'll say your overdraft is at 18% and your credit card is at 19%, right? So we're just putting figures together because I want you to understand the concept. So now we know the percentages. And then we're going to look at what's the interest we can get from an investment. Now, why am I looking at it from an investment perspective? So here, on the investment side, if you are aiming at retiring, you could access a portion of your money as a lump sum. Say you decide you're going to take that money, put it into a bank investment, and you're going to take the interest from there and you're going to pay off the debt, right? Just giving you some thought if you're retiring. Say you are aiming at resigning. You access your true 1/3, you could do the same thing, right? Put some of the money inside a bank account and use that to feed off the debt. Then you also have some money that you might invest into some type of other investment, say unit trust investment, or it might be even an endowment, whichever the investment type is. But the goal here is we're putting money into an investment and you're looking at it to see, okay, you want to make more money on the investment so that it pays off. Now, here's the things that I want you to keep in mind. You see, from an investment perspective, the uncertainty is markets. See, we don't know what the markets could do. You agree? Markets ebb and flow. We know this. So there are times when the market's performing well, in which case you're going to be happy, and times where it's not performing well. But either way, there is some uncertainty here. So let's use an example. When the markets are performing well, you might get a high interest rate. And if that interest rate is going to be above your highest interest rate here, which is on the loan, 20%, then you're in a good position, you agree? Because now you're earning a high. However, markets are unstable. So markets drop. What if the return that you're getting from your investment now comes to 8%? As an example, right? Then if you have a look at that in relation to the debt that you have, the bond is sitting at 9, credit card's 19, loan 20, and overdraft is sitting at 18. So if you just analyze this carefully, right, wouldn't it make sense to rather pay off these because no matter what happens, whether the market's performing well or not, whether inflation is high or low, you're still going to be charged interest on the bank products, isn't it? You're still going to be charged interest on that. So wouldn't it make sense to get rid of these, because that's the only certainty that you have, right? That you're going to be charged that. And then from an investment perspective, you take away the pressure from the investment. Because if in your mind you are expecting an investment to perform at a high rate all the time, and it doesn't deliver that for you, isn't that going to be frustrating? It would, wouldn't it? In which case, you might then start to question the investment, you question the advice that's being given, you might want to chop and change funds. It's all the things that you don't want to do. Whereas we can have the right planning done right at inception. Now, there are certain cases where I have recommended members not to settle debt. Again, it depends on the situation. So, on a one on one consultation, I'll be able to look at your personal set of circumstances and guide you accordingly. As a rule of thumb, though, keep this in mind. What we'll be looking for is the amount of interest that you are being charged on the debt in relation to what you could get as a return from the investment. So, keep that in mind. Next, also keep in mind that when you're servicing any type of debt, you are naturally going to need a higher income. And a higher income means more tax. So just think about it. Say, for example, I'm going to put some figures together, right, just to make it easy. Say all your expenses without the debt, right? This is your normal living expenses. Say it works out to 10,000 every single month. And when you start to add in the debt, the expenses work out to 8,000. So now in my example, you need a total of 18,000. You agree? So 18,000. Now, in order to ensure that you have enough to live comfortably, you're going to have to take a higher gross income. So you're going to have to take a higher income because part of your income is going to go to tax. However, if you are in a position where you can settle off the debt, so say you don't have the debt, now you can take a lower income, and a lower income will result in you paying less tax. And that's okay, provided you have the following, right? One, you must be able to adjust income annually for something like this. If you can change your income every single year, then this creates a benefit. Reason for that is you can take a low income when you need less. More of your money is being invested, right? So the growth on your investment can be higher. And when you do need more, then you can start to take a higher income, right? Two, investment can grow more. So you could benefit from more investment growth because investments perform well over time. So think about it. If you are holding on to your shares for a longer period, you're not taking too high an income, right? So you're not selling lots of unnecessary shares. You're holding on to it for longer. It means the growth can be higher over a period of time. You agree? Because you have more shares running over a longer period. So this becomes another advantage for you. And three, it just gives you a bit peace of mind, taking you closer to where you don't run out, right? Because you're being disciplined in the beginning, you're taking what you need. As your need changes in the future, provided you can adjust your income, then you keep taking more. So from this perspective, this is where you want to be mindful. If you take too much of income, the tax then picks up, which creates not a very pleasant knock-on effect. Third thing that I want to share with you is carrying on too much of debt for your family. Now let's use an example here. We'll use an example for your home. Now bear with me, I'm going to draw a figure here. My daughter Dia is going to laugh at my house. It pales in comparison to how she draws them. So say this is your home. At the time that you close your eyes, touch wood, there are a number of factors that must be considered. One, you have to consider what is called estate duty. And estate duty is a tax that we pay on death. There are many things to consider with that, but it is a tax that you want to be mindful of. Two, you want to keep in mind that you might have something called capital gains tax, because from an asset perspective, when you close your eyes, it's deemed as though you had sold the house, even if you have a spouse or not, right? So you want to keep in mind, you look at that, something called capital gains tax. And you want to also keep in mind what are the resulting costs that could come up. One, from an executor perspective, then when the property is being transferred, you're going to need an attorney to assist, right, with the conveyancing and things like that. Plus, there'll be other costs that come up. So when you have debt to settle, becomes a bit of a challenge for your family because step number one is they must settle the bond. See, they're going to have to settle that, which means they're going to have to find liquidity somewhere in order to settle that. The last thing you want is for them to sell assets. Am I right? You want to be able to protect your assets. So this creates a bit of a problem. They're going to need to settle that. They're going to need the title deed. It creates a bit of an issue. It drags on the process of winding off an estate. Can be very challenging for your family. So it's one of the dangers that's there for family members. In addition to that, having access to the other debts, maybe you've left some inheritance over to your kids or to your spouse, and you expected them to get a certain amount. But if there are a lot of debts in the estate, the institutions could claim off your estate, meaning your family may then still have to pay this money over. So what you actually wanted them to inherit or benefit from, they may not benefit. And the fourth thing I want to share with you is what should you do if you are not in a position to settle all of your debt? And here I want to reference back to what I shared with you in the beginning. If you're not in a position, and I did this when I had started off on my career and I had a significant amount of debt, right? All of these that you see here on the screen. What you want to pay attention to is start focusing on not the smallest account, start focusing on the one that has the highest interest. So in my example here, the loan has the highest interest. You agree? So every single month, you start putting in a bit extra. And it does not matter how little the extra is. Even if it's 20 rands, 50 rands, 100 rands, it doesn't matter. Just put the money in. So what I was doing was, if I was out shopping and I wanted to buy something, it was on sale, I expected to spend 500 rand, I only spent 400, I would take the 100 rand, I'll put it to my loan account, right? Or whichever debt I was focusing on. So you're aiming to settle the highest interest first. And once the debt is settled, then you start to focus on the next one. So you do this in baby steps. You get yourself to a point where as quickly as possible, you're settling off as much debt as possible. Now, key here is highest interest first. Right? The one with the highest interest is what you want to settle first. Now, if your debts have already been settled, then it puts you in a nice position because what you can now start to focus on is what are ways in which you can save more on tax. Now, wouldn't that be nice? Again, on a one-on-one consultation, I'll guide you on exactly how to do this where at the time of you retiring or resigning. If you still have some debts, I'll show you how to position it so that you get them cleared off and how to clear them in the best way possible. And if you have settled the debts, well, what a pleasure. Now you're in a position where you can actually maximize even more tax savings, right? When we connect on one-on-one, I'll guide you on that. So what has been the element that has been the most or the best takeaway for you from today's video? Comment below, let me know. I will catch you in the next one.